1920. Terror hits Wall Street. Prohibition saw a rise in bootlegging and gangsterism, but that wasn't the reason behind the shocking Wall Street bombing on the 16th of September 1920. A cart loaded with explosives was detonated outside the U.S. Assay Office, killing more than 30 people and injuring some 300. It was one of the earliest cases investigated by the FBI, but it was never solved. One theory is that it was the work of a small group of Italian anarchists, which would make it one of the first acts of international terrorism committed on U.S. soil. This group of narwhals is crowding round as their newest member is weighed in at New York Aquarium in 1969. The aquarium opened on December 10, 1896, and is the oldest continually operating one in the U.S. Fun fact, the collective noun for narwhals is a blessing. This snapshot of the famous championship match between Joe Louis and Joe Walcott in 1947 shows Louis lying on the canvas after being knocked down by Walcott. Louis was so appalled by his performance that he attempted to leave the ring as soon as the fight ended, but he was restrained. The mania of Wall Street Stock Exchange in 1962 looks almost peaceful from above. At its peak, it would contain over 3,000 brokers and clerks trading in person, but has now diminished in size due to the rise in computerized trading. 1867. Testing New York's first elevated railway. The 9th Avenue L was opened in 1868 and was the first elevated railway in New York City. Back then, it was known as the West Side and Yonkers Patent Railway and ran from Battery Place northward up Greenwich Street and onto Cortlandt Street. This photo captures Charles T. Harvey, the general manager of the West Side and Yonkers Patent Railway Company, testing the line in a single-man car in 1867. 1901. Theodore Roosevelt becomes the first president born in NYC. Theodore Roosevelt became the 26th president of the United States and the youngest president in the nation's history. He was also the first president born in New York City, having grown up in a townhouse on East 20th Street. It is said he brought new excitement and power to the office, evident here in this photograph of him speaking in his typical oratorical pose in New York in the year he became president. The Banana Docks of New York around 1905. Located at the old slip piers along the East River at the foot of Wall Street, they earned their name from the constant unloading of bananas and other tropical fruits arriving from all over the world. This photo, taken in 1918, shows actor Douglas Fairbanks holding up Charlie Chaplin in front of a crowd of hat-wearing spectators. The celebrity duo were promoting Liberty bonds, war bonds that were sold to support the Allied cause in World War I. 1885, Lady Liberty's first steps. The next major engineering project in New York was the assembly and erection of the Statue of Liberty, a gift from the people of France. The statue was built in sections in a Parisian warehouse and shipped to New York. Work on a suitably immense pedestal for the statue to stand on was started in 1884 on Bedloe's Island. But when the statue arrived in June 1885, the pedestal was not complete. Here we see Liberty's giant feet waiting for it to be finished. This picture of a smoggy New York port, taken on the East River in 1946, shows just how the city's skyline has changed. On the right is the Empire State Building, which was the tallest building in New York and was the first building in the world to contain over 100 floors. Street scene from the early 1900s. A group of children plays carefree beside a decomposing horse on one of New York's many cobblestone streets. Contestants in the Redhead Bathing Beauty Contest line up at Luna Park in Coney Island on July 4, 1901. Period swimsuits and shy smiles mark the unusual event. This quintessential picture of a New York parade celebration shows the July 4th procession in 1942. You can see the columns of U.S. Army infantrymen marching up Fifth Avenue with the Empire State Building looming in the background. Portrait of a woman in a swimsuit alongside a swimming instructor, who, interestingly, bears a resemblance to Nikola Tesla, lying near the waves at Midland Beach, Staten Island, in 1898. 1886. The Statue of Liberty is unveiled. Fast forward to 28th October, 1886, and the statue is finally completed and unveiled to much fanfare. Excited crowds gathered both onshore and in boats on the harbor to celebrate the monument's dedication. This photo of the big day captures the chaos and excitement. with smoke from a cannon salute partially obscuring Lady Liberty. The bustling sands of Coney Island, around 1904, dozens of beachgoers spread across the shore, enjoying the sun and sea in a relaxed atmosphere. 3 girls play with dolls as a woman looks on, standing in front of clothes hanging on a line atop a rooftop of a skyscraper, around 1919. Behold the inner workings of Wall Street. This photo from 1962 shows the stacks of gold bullions that helped make up the wealth of the city's financial district, inspiration for many a heist movie. In May of 1903, amid the hustle and bustle of the city that never sleeps, a man crosses the busy Greeley Square, passing by newsboys shouting the day's headlines along the hurried sidewalks of New York. In the back room of the Museum of Natural History sit all the specimens that aren't currently on display. This family of African antelope has been covered in cellophane by their taxidermist while in storage. 3 homeless boys sleep exhausted on the dirty steps of an alley in the Lower East Side after a long day of work, around 1888. It's not just cars that have to queue in the city that never sleeps. This image shows the congestion at LaGuardia Airport, with planes having to line up through the smog to get off the runway. Some things never change, especially when it comes to the crowds that swamp Fifth Avenue on a sunny day. Zoom into the picture to check out the array of old-school street signs and vintage sunglasses. 1865. Funeral procession of President Lincoln. One of the first great state events captured on film, or a sheet of copper, coated with silver, to be more accurate, was the funeral of President Abraham Lincoln. The funeral procession saw his body lay in state in 14 cities, including New York. Here we see mourners line the street as President Lincoln's funeral procession passes through New York City on the 25th of April, 1865, before being taken by train to his final resting place in Springfield, Illinois. 1897. Chasing the American Dream. For most immigrants in New York, however, life was simply a case of working hard and getting by. Many started their own street-level enterprises, achieving varying levels of success, like these pushcart peddlers on Mulberry Street, waiting for trade as they chase the American dream. 1900. Car polo comes to Coney Island. By the turn of the century, New York was an economic juggernaut. Its port was the busiest in the world, and it was one of the wealthiest cities on the planet, too. With that wealth came more leisure time, not just for the well-off, but also for workers. Even the rarefied sport of polo was democratized, with mechanized polo becoming a popular sport on Coney Island. The rules were the same, except cars carried the mallet-wielding competitors instead of horses. 1902. Skyscrapers come to the Big Apple. While the Tower Building is regarded as New York's first skyscraper, the Flatiron Building, completed in 1902, was hailed as the city's first artistic one. Its unusual wedge shape was compared to the bow of a monster ocean liner sailing up Broadway by American photographer Alfred Stieglitz. An increase in urban commerce, limited land, and technical innovations like steel frames and elevators would make downtown and midtown become a literal forest of tall buildings. 1904. Tragedy comes to the East River. On the 15th of June, 1904, General Slocum, a side-wheel passenger steamboat, caught fire and sank in the East River. It is estimated 1,021 souls perished that day, the largest death toll in American history until the 9/11 attack. The event devastated the German-American community of the Lower East Side. The local Lutheran church had hired the vessel for a day of family fun, with most of the passengers being women and children. 1910. Dancing at the Purple Pup. In a photo taken by Jesse Tarbox Beals, we see people dancing and drinking at Charlie Reed's Purple Pup in Greenwich Village. As well as being a haven for writers and artists, Greenwich Village was also home to some of the city's wildest bars. It may look tame by today's standards, but the Drink Me and the Mad Tea Party signs suggest that these guys knew how to party. 1913. The New York Female Giants are formed. A giant step towards equality came in 1913 with the forming of the New York Female Giants baseball team. There were 32 players altogether, divided into a red and a blue team. Their captain, Ida Schnall, pictured here wearing a white hat, later became a Hollywood actress. 1913. The start of a transcontinental bike race. Another extraordinary sporting event took place in New York on the 3rd of May, 1913. The start of a bicycle race from New York to San Francisco, organized by the Century Road Club. Here we see cyclists Fred J. Scherer and Walter Wiley getting ready to set off from City Hall. 47 days later, they reached San Francisco. 1919, Prohibition comes to New York City. In January 1919, the controversial 18th Amendment was ratified. The amendment prevented the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages in the United States and ushered in a period of prohibition that lasted until 1933. New York enacted their own prohibition legislation. This photo was taken in a crowded New York bar just before midnight on the 30th of June 1919, moments before prohibition came into effect. 1924, finding new ways to get a drink. The reality was that resourceful New Yorkers were still able to find ways to enjoy a drink. Speakeasies sprung up all over the city, offering first-class entertainment as well. Actress Texas Guinan, pictured, was regarded as the queen of the nightclubs and operated speakeasies across New York City. She was arrested several times, but never convicted, as her ownership of the clubs was never proved. A timeless reminder that New York City will always find a way. If these rare glimpses of old New York fascinated you, imagine what's coming next. Don't miss out. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you'll be first to see more forgotten moments in history.